What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Vinland Saga Season 2. This is episode 16, I believe. I think we're on 16.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, and with me as always, I have Blizzpade.
Yeah, so it seems to me we're getting pretty close to the end of this. How would you say it? It's just like you could say this is like this particular arc with Gardar, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of, if anything, I guess, like building up to the climax of the farm arc, because of course we have the situation with Gardar, and we also have, I guess the Canute is probably going to invade after they get Gardar out of there, potentially. But yeah, it looks like that we are kind of getting to. We're really getting to the climax now, especially with how this episode ends.
Yeah. So we pick up immediately after the events. So Thorfinn and Einar get wind of what happened the night before, which is that Gardar escaped from what was it? It was at that
the guards camp. They were like restraining him there.
Oh yeah, over there, and of course, he got help from Arnheid. So they head over to what was it?
Sverkel.
They head over to her. Yeah, they head over to his place and find that Arnheid is working there as normal, and I'm a bit surprised that she's working there, considering what Snake knew that she was the one who let Gardar free in the first place.
I wonder. Well, I mean, she is technically like still a slave. So I mean, it's not like. I mean, I don't know. I guess he could imprison her. It was really like I think what he was trying to do was he figured it would also be like a good way to potentially bait Gardar to come for her if he was still out there. Use her as bait in a way.
Yeah, but still, like, she's potentially in enormous trouble after what she just did.
Yeah.
So I mean, even like, regardless of what happens with Gardar, whether or not he goes free or not, Arnheid is just is not gonna get away from this unscathed. I mean, regardless of Canute's on his way or not, he's like, normally this would be like a major punishment for a slave like her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I am a little bit surprised that there wasn't really any repercussions, but Snake at this point, he's just kind of out to get revenge on Gardar for killing his men. So it seems like he's just doing anything he can to try to either capture, well, pretty much to kill, I would say just to kill Gardar.
Yeah.
But,
so, yeah, so eventually, Thorfinn and Einar talk to Arnheid, and she basically just straight up admits that she was the one who let Gardar free the night before. But in the process, Gardar, got stabbed somewhere in the abdomen. So she apparently hit him somewhere and try to treat his wounds, and of course she starts I wouldn't say she regrets that decision. I think she feels like some amount of guilt over what happened to both her and Gardar in the past, and over the circumstances of what happened to their son.
Yeah, well, and she also decided to help him because she imagined a life that she could have, the life she had before, with Gardar again, and with the new child that she's going to give birth to.
Yeah, and of course, eventually, Thorfinn and Einar decide to help her out, by concocting a plan, just basically try to in a way to free Gardar, from where Arnheid was hiding him. So at the same time, Snake also has a conversation with Sverkel, where Sverkel just tells him that just quit his his revenge quest and start working in the farm and start a new life.
Yeah, I mean he basically offers Snake his land, after he dies.
Yeah, it's basically, like he views like Snake is almost like, his second son over his over Kettle of such. But yeah, I mean, it's I mean, and it's pretty obvious, like, that both Sphyrkle and Snake almost kind of had like a father-son relationship over the last, pretty much over the season.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like they had that dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, but before the conversation can finish, Snake overhears that someone looking like Gardar is out and about, and he and like two other men start chasing after him. So this gives Thorfinn enough time to go to Arnheid to where Gardar is being hidden, and then just place him up in the cart. During the chase, Snake also realizes that the person that they're chasing like looks too spry to be like someone who's got injured. So Snake pretty much obviously gets wind of what's going on, and decides to go back to see what's going to see what's happening. So he eventually finds Thorfinn loading Gardar up in the cart, and this is pretty much where we see like a confrontation between both Snake and Thorfinn.
Well,
basically just facing off.
did also offer to help them. He said that if Thorfinn loaded him into the cart, that he would, they would be suspicious. They wouldn't be suspicious of, or the guests, I guess, wouldn't be suspicious of him if Sphyrkle was with them.
Yeah, but of course, like, Snake, like I said, he was smart enough to realize that the person that they were chasing, like, which is of course Einar, is like not really Gardar. So, like I said, he eventually catches up to Thorfinn and the others, and basically just finds out what they're doing. And of course, like he tries to demand that that he goes up and either apprehend or kill Gardar, but of course Thorfinn stands in his way, and this pretty much leads Thorfinn in kind of a crossroads position of like whether or not he can go back on his initial promise of being a pacifist.
Yeah, I do like how Askeladd is sort of like in his head, asking him if he can go through with committing violence again after basically choosing to be a pacifist. I like how they kind of bring Askeladd back as sort of like a voice in Thorfinn's head, essentially, because it makes sense because Askeladd's had such a big influence on his life.
Yeah,
but
it's almost like the complete opposite, in which Canute is dealing with and seeing like the pretty much a hallucination of his father's head, just basically talking to him over his actions.
It is interesting too, because it does kind of feel like Thorfinn and Askeladd had sort of this kind of strange, like, I don't know if you'd say like father-son relationship, but they had sort of this weird relationship where, of course Thorfinn wanted to take revenge on Askeladd for killing his father, but it's almost like he, in a weird way, ended up becoming a sort of a father figure to him in a sense, because he's, especially at this point, because he's sort of it feels like he's sort of trying to guide Thorfinn in a way, or at least, Thorfinn's, I guess you'd say Thorfinn's image of him, or what he would think Askeladd would tell him.
Yeah, and this eventually, like I said, puts Thorfinn in a position where he literally has to defend himself without using a weapon of his own. So I mean, this is pretty much what I predicted earlier, that there was no way that Thorfinn can really follow through of his initial promise of of being a pacifist, that he will eventually get into a confrontation such as this, which he would really need to defend himself. I mean, like I pointed out that he could do that, without having to kill someone like Snake. So basically, like, Thorfinn in this fight, whether or not if you really want to call it a fight, is like he's just basically just dodging Snake's attacks, and pretty much deflecting him at times with just his, fist and legs.
Well, he is trying to. He is aiming to go for. I think his chin. He's trying to get like a blow on his chin so he can incapacitate him.
Yeah, and of course the episode ends in which Thorfinn decides to go back to his I guess you could call it his battle stance, in which normally he would usually normally uses knives, but then he's just basically just gonna use his fists in this fight, I guess.
Yeah, and it really sucks that this is where the episode ends, because it's just such a terrible cliffhanger to leave off on, especially since this arc has, it has been a really good arc, but let's be honest, it's been really light on, there being a lot of action, especially in regards to Thorfinn doing any kind of fighting. So it's, we finally get to see him in a real fight again, and then of course that's where the episode ends off, which I think it is a good place to end it. But it just sucks that we, of course, this being weekly, seasonal anime, we gotta wait another week for the new episode. But this was a really good episode, and it's a really good follow-up to the last one. And I do kind of hate that the episode preview does kind of spoil, at least it seems like it really does spoil, like, what ends up happening with Gardar and Arnheid. I kind of wish they didn't have that in the preview, because it really kind of, it really is, it pretty much tells you what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm still excited to see like how they're gonna handle Thorfinn versus Snake. I do remember this from the manga. I especially remember the part where he was trying to dodge Snake's swords, and it's pretty. I remember like in the manga, it was pretty difficult for Thorfinn to really like dodge around Snake because of how skilled he is with a sword. So I think they're probably going to go more into that just to show how formidable of a fighter Snake is.
Yeah. Well, of course, this isn't going to be the only fight that Thorfinn's potentially going to get into. I mean, like I said, we still have to deal with the whole thing with Canute and his army, potentially going to invade the farmland.
Yeah. Thorfinn will potentially try at least to negotiate with Canute before resorting to any kind of violence, I would assume, though. Whereas Canute it's kind of like two conflicting mentalities, because Canute is not like that anymore, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially considering their history.
Yeah, and considering that Canute is a drastically different person than when he originally was back in the original season.
Yeah, of course, as we know, his character has done a complete 180 from what he was in season 1. And he's a polar opposite person now than as opposed to what he was before. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
We're already getting close to the end of this season. I think we're, like you said, we're at episode 16. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I would imagine like the end of the next episode will eventually be the start of the whole Canute invasion.
It looks like that's how things are going to play out, especially judging by that preview. We kind of handled one conflict, and then I guess they're going to move on to the next one, which is Canute's invasion.
Yeah, I would say like that preview might look a little bit deceptive, because
it could be. Yeah.
You would think, yeah. I think things are really gonna kick into high gear probably by the end of that episode next week.
I guess you could argue that the preview is like, oh, this is what could have happened. We have seen anime do that before, where they would give I think an example would be like Jujutsu Kaisen season 1, where they had a character in the opening that actually dies in the series, and looking like he actually survives and joins the Jujutsu Academy, which doesn't end up happening, of course. So it could be one of those situations where it's just where you mentioned, it's deceptive. It is trying to like maybe mislead people. I guess that's a possibility, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.